रोशनी का कारवां।
This podcast is brought to you by Score Foundation.
ये है रोशनी, रोशनी, रोशनी का कारवां, रोशनी। Eyeway, ये है रोशनी का कारवां।
Hi, my name is George Abraham and welcome to Eyeway Conversations. My guest today is from the United States. He works for Meta, the Facebook people, Agustya Mehta. Hi, Agustya, welcome.
Thank you, George.
So, Agustya, you've been working with Meta for a while now. So, tell me a little bit about what you do at Meta and how long have you been working at Meta and how did you get interested in what you're doing?
I've been at Meta for 6.5 years, and I'm the director of a team called Concept Engineering. So we are a hardware and software prototyping organization. We make early mock-ups and early test devices so that we can try out new ideas before they're ready for prime time. And so a lot of the really exciting pieces of hardware and tech that we've released and announced over the past few years, like some of our mixed reality headsets or some of the provocative things like Orion, which are, I think, time machines into the future of what wearable technology will look like. Our team would be the ones building the really heavy, maybe cosmetically ugly prototypes that our engineers and our leadership use ahead of launch in order to make sure that the ideas work and that the technology will work.
Around May this year, you launched the Ray-Ban Meta glasses in India. What was the initial thinking when you conceived the product and brought it into the market? What were your original thoughts?
Excellent question. It's interesting because there's sort of two aspects to how we inside of Meta viewed this product. Internally, members of the blind and low vision community who are employees of the company had been very strong advocates of this type of use case and form factor being really powerful and special for people who couldn't see or had vision issues. From the highest levels, the initial charter and framing of this product was as a mainstream general population targeted, like mass market device, something to bring better connection to the world for people so they don't have to take their phone out to take pictures and images, don't have to take your phone out to listen to music and stay immersed in the world around you. I think this product's a really beautiful story of how those two things can converge and coexist. My team's charter is not just in building technology prototypes, but part of that charter is in accessibility innovation and bringing universal design concepts out into the world. And so we've done things like prototype ideas for how new tech can help people who are visually impaired or have other issues where we think tech can bring them more connected to the world. And so the launch of this product, in my opinion, is a really great triumph in showing that mass market mainstream products can be empowering and useful for people in the blind and low vision community.
When did the blind and visually impaired people realize and recognize the value of Meta glasses and start seeing it as a product which would be an assistive aid in their lives?
Internally, one story which I think is quite fun to tell, not many people know it, the actual first prototype of multimodal AI that's using AI with multiple types of input like camera and voice together was actually done as a hackathon project by myself and a few other members of the engineering team and UXR team at Meta. So before Ray-Ban Meta was released, the previous generation Ray-Ban Stories device was being in development, and we used internal prototypes of that pair of glasses combined with existing on the market AI solutions to prototype and show how AI-driven recognition of objects and scenes and reading of text using OCR or optical character recognition could be a really compelling way to empower blind and low vision people. And I think part of the reason this hackathon project went so well is that many of us on the team have vision issues. One of the lead members of the team is a visually impaired UXR researcher in our Seattle office named Sophia. I myself, while I have fairly functional vision, I have vision loss from glaucoma and other complications from congenital cataracts that I was born with. So I would say internally from day zero, this was something that was top of mind. Now, how we had that resonate with the community so well, I think that was actually quite a big surprise to many in the company, including our leadership. I think we got an amazing response on launch, even before a lot of the AI features went on the roadmap from people in the blind and low vision community. And while a lot of the AI feature sets ended up getting accelerated by the 2023 sort of revolution in AI that was spurred by mass market products kind of accelerating AI faster than everyone thought would be possible. That initial seed that got planted inside the company around how AI can empower blind people, I think that was very much emphasized and vindicated when we had members of the community come back to our leadership telling us how impactful this product was for them. And when we see features like the partnership with Be My Eyes or updates to our multimodal AI responses to make them more detailed and more rich for people who are blind and low vision, I think if it weren't for the external reception from the community and people outside of Meta saying, hey, we know that you didn't build this product directly for us, but it's amazing for us. I think that that feedback has really helped kind of accelerate some of this mission and this work internally.
These AI-enabled glasses, the Meta glasses, can you, in simple words, tell us what are the main features?
I think first and foremost, the cost that we sell this product at, which is competitive to, high-end eyewear that is not smart, and it is one of the best features, if you want to call it that. I've seen so many products that have been developed by really amazing people in the industry, but because they have been targeting lower volumes or targeting just one segment of the market, they need to sell at a higher price point, which then makes them harder to attain, particularly for people in the community that might come from locations where the cost of living is lower or where underemployment is a really big problem. I think secondly, the form factor being a mainstream pair of glasses means that there's much less stigma associated with wearing a pair of Ray-Bans than, for example, wearing something that looks very technology heavy and technology forward. Most people don't necessarily want to walk around looking like they have sort of tech gadgets and Star Trek kind of things on them. And so I think that's one of the really beautiful things about this product. Now, when it comes to the AI feature sets that you're talking about, some of these use cases that have been put into our products and are now released in India, and there's going to be even more cool things coming, enable people to have words read to them, have images described to them, have scenes and objects given more rich detail and more color. Now, for a sighted audience, this is cool, and I don't want to diminish how cool it is. But I think for blind and low vision people, this can be life-changing because simple information about what's around you no longer requires that you ask somebody for assistance and give up your independence that way and your privacy. It no longer demands that you use, political capital that's essentially required whenever you ask someone for a favor, to simply read a restaurant menu or read a sign or understand whether the table in front of you is empty or not. So I think that at its most basic level is something that AI is able to do. Large language models are really great at finding patterns, breaking down things that would have required previously a human assistant to transcribe, and get information to the user in a way that doesn't require asking for help, which I think is the really compelling part of it.
Agustya, it was just yesterday when a courier came for me. I was alone at home, and it was a letter. And it was amazing that Ray-Ban Meta glasses actually read the entire letter for me from top to bottom. And then I could also ask it for specific details from the letter. it was as good as me looking at the paper and getting that information. So it was not just reading the letter, but also answering relevant questions about the content that was in the letter, and that was amazing. And like you said, reading restaurant menus, and then the ability of these glasses to give you the gist of content which is there in front of you. I think these are very, very amazing and revolutionary.
If you know of anyone with vision impairment who needs guidance in living life with blindness, please share the Eyeway National Helpline number 8800004334. The number is 8800004334.
You call it the Meta Ray-Ban glasses or the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. And I also believe that you're coming out with other collaborations like the Oakley Meta glasses. It is a little unusual for us to hear of two big companies coming together in a commercial venture, in a commercial project. Tell us a little bit about how did this Ray-Ban Meta partnership happen, and what does each company bring to the table?
The partnership with our partner brands we sell with, like Ray-Ban and more recently Oakley, is driven by trying to take kind of the best things that a tech company is good at, like embedding technology into a small form factor and, packaging the power of things like AI into something that you can wear with, I think, with the strengths that traditional eyewear brands have, which are around style and making something that you want to wear on your face that feels good and that looks good. And so in particular, we have a very strong partnership with SLR Luxottica, which is the parent brand for both Ray-Ban and Oakley. And I think when we built this partnership together to release the set of products that we've got on the market, there was a strong recognition that it was a mutually beneficial thing to take the things that a technology company is really powerful and good at, and bring our mission of connecting the world and combining that with the fashion forward understanding of what it is people want. And for something like eyewear in particular, it's such an intimate thing. It's on your face. It's like the first thing that a sighted person will see when they look at you. It's important that it's something that you want to be associated with. And I think a lot of that design-led thinking, tech companies definitely have it too. But I think finding a partner that's got very strong history, very strong track record of delivering positive results in that space is just a really winning combination. And I think that's one of the reasons why this product has done, Ray-Ban Meta in particular, has done well on the market in areas where perhaps previous forays into that realm that have been more technology forward or more of a gadget have not done as well.
You talked about some of the cool features that are in the pipeline or maybe available in the United States or maybe available in other parts of the world, likely to come to India in the near future. So what are some of the cool features that we can look forward to?
But one thing I found to be a really great feature that just recently got deployed in the United States, and we're going to start seeing that in more and more locations around the world, is something called Live AI. And so what this does is it brings the power of the multimodal AI assistant into a much more natural and conversational form. So today, if you want your glasses to describe what's in front of you and give you some detail about it, you'd say, "Hey Meta, look, tell me what's on the table in front of me." Or, "Hey Meta, look and read this restaurant menu. And, George is paying for dinner, so I don't need to know the prices, but tell me what the best thing is on it," right? And so doing that, I can get a lot of great information, but it's also a little bit awkward to always have to prompt the assistant with a "Hey Meta," and it's not super natural. With Live AI, essentially you can have the glasses operate in a mode where it's essentially acting like a assistant or a buddy looking over your shoulder, and you can just talk to it conversationally as you need. So if you enter a room and you ask it very quickly, "Hey, what kind of food is on the plate in front of me?" You don't have to prompt it with "Hey Meta." You can ask follow-up questions naturally, and it has a good understanding of what has been around and what has happened. So if there's something from earlier in the day or earlier in the evening that you want to remember, you can just ask it. So that's one feature set that is released in the United States and will be coming out in more locations around the world. I think that another thing I've gotten a lot of feedback on from the folks I've talked to during my time in India last week was excitement around more languages being supported, both for the assistant and interacting with the glasses themselves, as well as more languages for the live translation feature. So we currently have a feature that can translate languages, both audio to audio as well as text to audio. But the supported languages for that today are English, French, Spanish, and Italian. And I think with written text, German as well. We're going to see a larger proliferation of that kind of support as well going forward. There's an assistance feature that I think is particularly empowering for the blind and low vision community.
When you go into a conference room or a meeting room, the seeing people who come in there get to see everybody around and recognize people they know. But a blind person is at a distinct disadvantage when you walk into a room. And it's a little disappointing that products like the Meta glasses don't actually tell you who is in the room, though the technology is available.
I think that the razor that you mentioned, that if a sighted person is able to do something and the technology exists to enable a blind person to do that same thing, it's not only righteous, but I think almost a compulsion that that technology should be made available to blind and low vision people. That's my personal view on things. The ability to recognize a person and put their name on it is something that is such a powerful ability that sighted people have, that makes social situations smooth and easy, that can make you feel comfortable in a new environment because you can see people that you trust. And that's something that blind people don't have the ability to do easily yet. So I agree with you very strongly that providing that tool to people who can't see is important and something I want to see happen. The reason that you don't see more widespread application of face recognition, where you're taking faces and applying labels to it, is because of, I think, well-merited concerns around privacy, right? I think that this is one of those, new areas of technology where the good aspects and the challenging aspects are going to come to a head. And I don't think the laws as written yet quite understand it. I think it's akin to when horse-drawn carriages were replaced by the automobile. Speed limits and those sorts of things weren't very common back then because they just didn't really matter that much. And it took a while for the law to adapt. I think we're going to see something similar here. And what I've seen is in most places, the law be very overly conservative and just say things in many countries along the lines of, thou shalt not do face recognition. And I think when there is legislation that's that absolutist, we really risk leaving people behind. Specifically, I think in this case, blind and low vision people. I think it's going to take some time to adapt. I think that the best thing that can help technology companies like ours provide more of these tools to people is less us directly asking for it and more of people in the community that are actually affected by it talking to their legislators, talking to their lawmakers about it. Because I think that's really how we'll see some changes around how the rules are written around face recognition. Because there are reasonable concerns around privacy. I don't want to diminish those at all, but I also think that those are sometimes taken to such an absolute that the true real benefits of this technology aren't given the opportunity to be out into the world the way they should be.
To bring about change in the privacy laws and so on in different countries, where do you think the initiative should come from? Should it come from people who are blind and visually impaired, or would it come from the corporate players? Where would it come from?
Well, I think it's good for it to come from both. Pragmatically speaking, the corporate players do have a voice and a platform and access. But personally, I think the most compelling story and the most real message is when it comes from the people who are affected by the law. So short answer to your question, I think it's when blind and low vision people provide their perspective to lawmakers.
To support our work with the blind and visually impaired, you can visit the donate page on our website www.scorefoundation.org.in. Please note, www.scorefoundation.org.in.
What are your plans for India? Because India is a large, should I say, market in terms of population of blind and visually impaired people. Potentially, it could be a huge market. So I'm sure you look at India pretty seriously. So to be able to make the glasses available to the average blind person in India, uh, do you have any kind of strategies and approaches in mind?
We have a few. I think first off, we're always in a learning mode. I think that just like the adoption among the blind and low vision community in the US post-launch was stronger than many of us at Meta anticipated. I think that the adoption and feedback we've been getting from India has been really strong in a very positive, empowering way. I think the first step that we're looking to do is get more feedback from the community on like prioritizations of which feature sets are important. We already have heard a lot of really great feedback, and we're aware, for example, of the desire for Hindi language support and support of more local languages. Um, we're also really aware of the desire for some of these features that I touched on, like live AI, to become more widely available in India. I think the other approach we're going to take, and it's tied into that first thing I mentioned of just getting more feedback from the community, is building partnerships with organizations in India that can perhaps be used for co-design, collaboration, potentially trying to engage with partners in India to get glasses out to large numbers of people, and then partner with those organizations to get feedback or do some design hackathons, if you will. Um, I think that getting the product out, even with the constraints that you've touched on, like the need for network support and it being a English language supported device, already is giving us a lot of really great info. And I think the next steps are basically finding these strategic partners to work with for co-design and for like strategic deployment, even among populations where the cost pressure might be difficult. If we're able to get some small set of devices out at um, in the form of a partnership, I think that'll be a win-win. It'll give us some feedback that'll actually help us accelerate our planning.
You mentioned the cost factor. Yes, economics would be a major factor when it comes to India, if you want to really hit the market in a big way. Uh, would the cost factor actually influence the features on the phone, on the glasses? Like, for example, to make the glasses available cheaper, would you compromise on certain features, or you'd look at subsidizing? What would your thinking be on that?
I think both approaches could work, right? Like when I think about at least the initial outlay of trying to get more feedback from the community, I think that working with partners, government organizations, nonprofits that already do subsidize extent technologies, finding ways of having our product fit into that same type of category could be an interesting way to get them into the hands of people that might not be able to afford the base price. Finding also reducing the friction of letting people try these out. I think try before you buy is really important for anything, but especially with something as personal as glasses. And so finding more partners that we can work with in India to provide that ability, similarly to how, there's major optical shops in the United States like Lens Crafters or Ray-Ban stores that you can try the device on. I think finding more opportunities like that in India will help as well, because I think even at the price point it's at, people are much more likely to commit to going for it if they've tried it and it's shown value to them. In terms of that second thing you touched on, are there trade-offs between cost and feature sets? Certainly, yes. I think, one thing I will say is that the updates and improvements in our AI, the quality of the responses we give, the accuracy we give, those updates are continually pushed to all of our devices. So even if you bought a pair of Ray-Ban Meta glasses last year, as new features become available, you're going to get those updates at no extra charge. It's not like you have to buy new hardware every time we have a software update. That's a common question I've gotten, so I figured I'd hit that one on the head. In terms of our future set of products we might build, right? Like there's certainly trade-offs that could be made on on features, right? There could be a world where we make a device that has fewer sensors, fewer features, different capabilities. And perhaps the market actually would be cool with something that was more low end or didn't have as high of quality of, I don't know, camera input or whatnot at the exchange of being able to be offered at a lower price point. So getting more feedback from the community on what's important, though, will help inform those decisions so we're not just shooting in the dark.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Agustya. It was a pleasure talking to you. And we do look forward to exciting experiences of using the Meta Ray-Ban glasses in India. And we do hope that, AI actually kind of makes us visually impaired people feel that the eye condition is not really a disadvantage.
Eyeway, ये है रोशनी का कारवां.
This podcast was brought to you by Score Foundation.
ये है रोशनी, रोशनी, रोशनी का कारवां. रोशनी. Eyeway, ये है रोशनी का कारवां.